Come trap with me.
Sir.
This man redefined the word, the terminology, trapping right there. Heather B.
I love it. I'm here for all of this today. I love it.
I've been following this man for a while and just really enjoying the work he's been doing. He's on purpose. We were talking about alignment today.
Absolutely.
And staying in your purpose. You can catch him on Trapping Tuesdays on all podcast platforms, on the YouTube. You can go on his IG. He gives you tips on how to invest. I always go on his IG and I steal the information and I do it for myself. And
Such an op.
he has yet to lead me in the wrong direction. we see him on a ton of platforms, all the podcasters, all the radio shows that put him on. Salute to them, because these are the kind of conversations have to be, as you know, King Tech and I started having in the early 1990s.
Yeah, necessary.
And that's why we called our show the Wake Up Show, to wake up our people and our community to information that they weren't privy to or learning in any educational institution. So we've been speaking on investments since then on this show in 2011 when we started on Sirius XM. We've always had people who work in the finance industry come and talk about how they obtain their wealth. This man might be one of the most relatable voices in that industry because of what he had to endure. As you know, he was a resident in the institution for a period of time, but he utilized that time in a very productive way and came out and started teaching people how to live on a higher level. I want to welcome him to our show for the first time, the Wallstreet Trapper, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, I don't think I ever had an introduction like that in my life.
That's what's up.
This is for
The
real,
OG,
man. Come on, man.
I appreciate y'all letting me be here, man.
Man, why not?
Yes.
You and my genetics, homie.
Yes.
Come on, man.
Yes.
My DNA, man.
Yes.
I really appreciate what it is that you do. And I think it's important what you do because you talk a lot about the market and investments. And a lot of us, our people, are scared sometimes. And that probably because of the unknown. We're scared to, we know where we are. We know where we want to go, but that in-between, I heard you talk about that, the in-between, that vulnerable stage of before we get there, we're scared to enter into that. To you, what is one of the key points or the key fundamental points to obtaining wealth?
So I truly believe in my heart of hearts that lack of money isn't the problem. It's a symptom to a bigger problem.
Okay.
Right? And so we don't never get to heal the financial trauma that we go through coming up in our culture. No matter what hood you from, we all deal with the financial trauma, the emotional, the mental pain that we've seen our parents go through, how we seen them respond to money, how we see them respond to bills. So we gotta first, before we even think about getting the money, we gotta ask ourselves, like, why have generationally we've been in lack? Right? So what's the catalyst to that? And so then we can tackle, okay, let's get the money. So the first thing for me is, one, understanding how the information changes my life.
Okay.
Right? So we got to understand that part first. Okay, what is my relationship with money? Is it toxic? Meaning, as soon as I get it, am I spending it? Do I get it and hold on to it? Both of these are two negatives on the same side, on the same coin. Right? And so what happens is, I always say that poor people live check to check, rich people live year to year, but wealthy people live generationally. Right, so wealthy people, like, I'm already setting my daughter up. So she already, like, I got my freedom already. Cool. How do I make sure my daughter good? But also, how do I make sure some kids that I'll never see be good? Right, so I'm already understanding the power and the leverage of my money. But because we come from lack, it's hard for us to even think about another generation when the next meal in front of me ain't promised.
Yeah.
Right, the next bill gives me anxiety. Christmas, I'm already knowing I'm going $5,000 in debt. For most of us, the biggest lump sum of money we will ever get gonna be for income tax time.
Yeah.
So now we trying to just maneuver through those nuances is to stay above water. So we got to change the relationship with money first before we can think about building wealth.
Cedric Nash is over there. Everything you saying is he's nodding to it. It sounds like we as a community need some form of financial therapy.
That's what we need.
Okay, how would that look though? How would that work? If you was the therapist, where would you begin?
So I really call myself a financial therapist.
Okay.
And that's what Trapping Tuesdays is. So where I begin is with, first, we got to stand in the problem. So one of the things I've been on heavy is, before we can increase our territory, we got to increase our capacity. Right? So before we can say, yo, I want $1 million, how are we navigating with $1,000? So the first thing we got to do is stand in it. Like, you can't heal from trauma if you don't stand in and understand what are the things that's triggering you from the beginning. Right? So first we got to understand, okay, what is my relationship with money? So how does therapy look? Okay, if I gave you $1,000 right now, what would you do with it? Don't tell me what you think is right. Tell me exactly what you would do with it. What would it do? Where would it go at? Right? Don't tell me, oh, I'm going to save it, I'm going to invest it. Nope, because that ain't in your heart how you feel. Right? So first we got to identify what is it that we would do with the $1,000. And so because somebody may say something wrong, I'll say, okay, well, what did you do with your last income tax check? What do you do for Black Friday? Like, what do you do when you get a credit card? So now we start identifying the financial behavior over a long period of time. So once we understand the financial behavior, now we can get down to, oh, this is the problem. Okay, did your mother do that? Yep. Okay, boom. So that's the problem. Did your grandmother do that? Okay, boom. Here we go. So now we can start cutting the umbilical cord to some of the issues. Now we can heal that trauma. And once we heal the financial trauma, we can now put you in a state. We can increase your financial fortitude so you can now move differently when you see money. You know what I'm saying?
Is that what you speak to about values and behaviors?
He is point on.
Okay. Okay.
Can I just add, because your money outcomes are the derivative of your money behaviors. Your money behaviors are the shadow to your money values, right? Because, and another way of saying about money values are your money priorities. You change your priorities, you change your behaviors. You change your behaviors, you change the outcome. And that's the process of transforming your value set. And, you know, do you value looking rich or do you value being rich? People who value looking rich has a behavior of buying stuff with their money, right? And the outcome is they never become rich. They just become
They just look rich.
They just look rich.
Yeah.
Right?
Facade of it.
Okay. Had to be.
So both Cedric and Trapper, Wallstreet Trapper, thank you again. But you both keep bringing up the word literacy and education. And it makes me wonder if all of this is intentional on a bigger scale. Because as kids, because you said trauma, like you remember like possibly your grandmama like with the bills spread out on the table, or your mother, the bills spread out, and it's like yelling for different reasons and whatnot. It's like, all I'm doing is asking for a pair of Adidas. Like, what's the problem? But as kids, we spent so much time in school. It seems like, why isn't financial education taught in school? Because you're saying generation after generation, but where's the education supposed to come from? Like, we don't know.
Cool. I love that. So here's my analogy to that every time. Has the lion ever taught the zebra how to get away?
Right.
Ah, man.
That
those
it's
lions don't do
intentional.
that. Yeah.
The lion ain't never taught the zebra how to get away. The lion never taught the gazelle how to get away. We got to put ourselves, we got to understand that America is an economy based on consumerism, right? So if America is an economy based on consumerism, then we need more people consuming. So I have to breed, and I have to intentionally breed consumers. I cannot give you the power to learn how to maximize your dollar, because then the 1% wouldn't be the elite.
Right.
We need an elite, and we need the people who are, I don't want to say nothing bad, but we need people who are not knowledgeable on money. So now we can keep creating things that will trigger, because that's the thing about trauma. There's always a chemical emotion. There's a dopamine that's released that makes you do a certain thing. So what happens is when the people, okay, I get a paycheck. Watch this. Somebody can work overtime. Somebody can know they're struggling. They know they behind on their bills. They know they behind. But guess what? If they worked overtime, immediately before they even got the check, they know how much they're going to make from the overtime part of their check and where they're going to spend it at. They already know it. That's financial trauma. So what happens is I need people continuously living like that so that I can 100% benefit off that. So just here's a bigger picture of it. During the pandemic, there was $7 trillion put into the economy. $7 trillion put into the economy over a time span. But watch this. From 2020 to 2022, the wealthy 1% of America increased their wealth by $5 trillion, while the poor people and the working class people of America decreased their wealth. Meaning if you had $10,000 in your savings during the pandemic, you probably had two. People who worked the job, their 401k, they contributed to taking the minimum $60,000 out of the 401k. How is this possible? How is this possible in a global pandemic where everybody is scraping for money? The people who got money increased their money. Well, people know how to play the game a little bit different.
You know, I want to add something if you don't mind.
Yeah,
come on,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
You know, because he and I are so aligned on a lot of fronts.
Oh, man.
Alignment.
I spoke at a church not too long ago about our intergenerational trauma that we've experienced since slavery, right? Because from the 1600s to 1865, we were wealth, right? And then we moved on to to sharecropping to Jim Crow. We never had an opportunity to understand as a community what wealth is and how to build wealth. The sad reality is if you look at adults who have experienced childhood trauma, they suffer from 4 things. Number 1, cognitive issues. They suffer from issues of self-worth. They suffer from issues with family relationships and chronic health issues. The 4 things that we suffer from. One of the challenges that might sound controversial is the fact that our response to that trauma has resulted in fear. It has resulted in trust issues of our fellow brother. It's resulted in confusion because the way the church has taught us about money and about how we're make us guilty to build wealth and become wealthy. And that confusion gets exacerbated through our culture, through music, social media, and every aspects of our life, kind of keeping us right where we are.
Yeah.
So the sad reality is that our community is confused when it comes to money, and we have a hard time breaking out of that cycle.
Confusion.
And then there's parts of our culture that keeps us right in that cycle. Because hip hop on from one perspective is mad successful. Billionaires, right? Jay-Z, 2.5 billion. Loads of billionaires have come from hip hop.
Loads of billionaires have not come from hip hop.
Well, there's been
about 4.
P. Diddy, right? Well, and if they're not, they made millions. Let's put it that
Millions,
way.
yes.
But they're the dominant force these days in our culture.
Absolutely.
But the sad reality is most people can't do it that way, and that culture kind of drives us to consumerism.
Yeah.
So it kind of creates this kind of confusion about what do I do with my money. And so as a community, I do agree that we're dealing with trauma, and that confusion around trauma prevents us from doing the right things and having the right behaviors around money.
Man, that's Cedric Nash right there, man. We got the Wallstreet Trapper with us. Tracy, I'm going to come to you in a second. I want to take a couple of these. The lines have lit up. So to all the citizens, please jump on a quick question because we only have so much time so they could give a quick answer, but we're going to give you their information so you can continue this conversation. This is interesting. Dominique in Detroit, welcome to the show, Rise and Shine.
What up? What up,
Dom? What's your question?
Hi,
You got to turn your radio down.
Good morning,
Yeah.
everyone. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, turn your radio down. What's your question? Go ahead.
Okay, good morning. Yes. So I'm recently going to be graduating. I'm getting my PhD. I'll be graduating in the summertime. But similar to what you just been talking about, of course, when we're in those courses and we're doing our work, no one's teaching us how to escape from the system that is academia. So I think that with my impending graduation, I'm just really feeling a lot of stress, a lot of worry about how do I transition into the real world? How do I make something of the skill set that I've been doing? I don't want to go back into being a professor in academia. That's not really for fruitful or fulfilling for me. So I just need some tips, some ideas of how do I make that transition effectively.
You want to take it first?
Cool. So for me, first, let's just congratulate you for where you're going at in life. Let's just congratulate you for
proud
that.
of you, Dom.
That's huge. We're really proud of you for that. So what I would have said is where you're going, especially financially, it doesn't happen overnight, right? So what happens is we got to, and I don't want to say it, but we got to start understanding our behavior with money. And so one of the things I would do is look at the paycheck that you're getting. How do you start first paying yourself first? Not for right now, but how does that paying yourself first look to you in 3 years? How does that paying yourself first look to you in 5 years? And what I mean is, so let's just take a portion of your paycheck, whatever you making, and saying, yo, you know what? I'm going to invest this now. Right? I'm going to be here. I'm going to invest this now so that 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, I've increased my purchasing power in life. So now I'm not so needy for the career. I'm not so needy for the job. My thing is always, how do you buy back some of your time? The more your time you can buy back, that's what true freedom looks like. So every day, every time you get paid, every financial decision you make, I want you to practice delayed gratification just a little bit for the next couple years. Practice the delayed gratification and then using that money to build on where you're trying to go at.
That brother speaking my book right there, man.
And he didn't even read it yet.
In this book, I think, what do you say, 30?
I said deferred gratification, save 30% of your income.
Yeah, he says, Cedric Nash says this in the book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Wealth? Make sure you get that, Dom. Congratulations. You're a citizen, okay?
A Sway in the morning.
Okay, we're going to go to Marquise in Colorado. He's go ahead, Marquise. Real quick question so we can do some quick answers. Go.
Yes. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm really just kind of wondering. I've been doing a lot of the stuff you guys are talking about, but I'm so desperate to this point where I'm kind of the way I do it. I sleep in the car. I have a good job, so I get paid well. But I'm really just trying to get around people who are like-minded, I guess. I've always been a recluse. I've always been, to myself. And so at this
Okay,
point,
so what's your question, Marquise?
Well, where would I go to get with like-minded people besides just getting on the internet? Like I follow Wallstreet Trapper. I follow the other guy you have on. I follow 19 Keys. But as far as following them, like how do you get to where these actually people are? How do you have lunch with these people? But that's
okay. Here we go.
That's where
Let me tell you,
if
you go to cedric-dash.com, click Take the Challenge. I give a free Black Wealth Growth Challenge where every other Monday I have a group of people that get on the phone and I teach them how to literally increase their net worth. And my goal is by the end of the year, their net worth will be higher than it was at the beginning. And it's free. I give them downloads of Excel spreadsheets. They track their wealth. They update their wealth every quarter. And we give them free mentorship on things they could do to increase their net worth. And I got a group of people that are like-minded. So there you go.
There you go. All right. I'm going to take Danielle, who's on the line from New York. Go ahead real quick, Danielle. What's your question?
Every quarter.
Turn your radio down. Turn your radio down. Danielle, turn your radio down. Danielle, turn your radio down.
And I still didn't understand why dude was sleeping in his car. Girl, okay, we gotta go.
Gotta go, Danielle. Listen, citizens,
Clock
turn your
is
radio
ticking.
down, okay? And let me see. Kim is in Long Island. Kim, go for it.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm a veteran,
morning.
and I'm on a disability, and it's pretty decent. But I got 6 kids left. 3 are gone, 6 are left. How do I build some kind of generational wealth so that I know that they're good once, because it's late in life for me.
So let me answer that, Sway. So it's 8:57 right now. So I want you to look at that, Sway. It's live. What is that? You see that, right?
The number right here. That
Yes,
says
sir.
Days gain. I see that. Yep, it's 8:57. I see that number.
Cool. So this morning we've made $3,100 this morning, probably within an hour or something. And I ain't did nothing. I ain't go to work. I ain't clocking. I got prepared to come to Sway. So the best thing that you should do right now to put them in position, and I promise you this, is you need to learn how to invest and trade. It may take you a year, it may take you 2 years, but I promise you the year or 2 years that you will learn this skill set, it will change your family's generational texture, right? What happens is we are thirsty for the information. We are thirsty to make a change, but we aren't equipped with the tools to make the change. But the difference between now and where our forefathers and foremothers was, it's at our disposal. There's so many people, again, like myself, like this king right here on side of me. I know so many people. We got to get attached to these people on this free social media site, and we got to stop being entertained and start being educated, right? And take that year and a half to learn that trade, learn how to do that, and you can wake up in the morning and say, you know what? Here's $1,000. Here's $500 that I typically didn't have to go trade sweat for. I promise you, when you learn that, you will create generational wealth easier than anybody before in your family blood tree.
Kim, and the way you can learn it is follow Wallstreet Trapper.
Thank
If you
you.
don't already, give out your information. Everybody tuned in. Follow this man at
Wallstreettrapper.com on Instagram. But most importantly, I want you all, I do a 2-hour show every Tuesday on YouTube called Trapping Tuesdays. It's on the Wall Street Looks Like Us Now Network on YouTube. Also, we have the podcast out on all podcast platforms. And where we literally not only give you stock market information, but for me, it's deeper than that. For me, it's helping you, again, heal that financial trauma so you can increase your legacy, so you can increase your investment decisions, so you're not scared of the market no more, so you can embrace the market.
Okay, Heather B, I know you got to go to Urban View.
Headed over to Urban View for Soul Food Thursday. We have recipes and tips for your bar, your table, and of course for your soul.
Okay, Kim, you're a citizen.
Sway in the morning.
Good luck to you. Tracy, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm loving that we are going into all the behavioral science that's attached to finance. I think that there can be financial trauma that leads someone to become addicted to wealth building, perhaps, where wealth is really important, but it's not necessarily a medication for all. Folks can be using wealth to hide an insecurity, and maybe they become hooked on just focusing on their money building activities where they neglect their family. They neglect their own mental health. We've heard about, there's been billionaires who have committed suicide, things of that nature. What would you guys say in terms of the financial therapy for someone whose only focus is wealth? at
You're
the
talking about me.
sacrifice of other important things.
Yeah, Cedric needs that. Like, help him, Wallstreet Trapper.
Yeah, that was me back in the day. But you gotta have balance, man. You know, it's after you get to a certain point, you realize that money's not gonna make you happier.
Yeah.
It's really the connections that you have with people, the long-standing, because you can't take it with you. Yeah, I don't care who you are. Robert Smith ain't taking his $5 billion or $6 billion with him. It's really about those connections that you have with people. That's where the value comes. But you do need a certain amount of wealth to kind of put yourself in a state of freedom. And I've talked in my book about, what's your wealth purpose, right? And I talked about these different 7 purposes, and mine is really contribution and freedom. Some people, it's significant. They want more wealth because they want people to, to know them, and other people want it for power and control, like that Donald Trump kind of wealth. But those things don't fulfill you. It's really contribution and family and connections that brings the most happiness.
So I'll add a little bit to it. So I'm in a stage right now where I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to wealth because I'm also addicted to the freedom. I'm addicted to putting my people in a situation to be free. But what helps me, and 100% is, and it's easy for somebody who's become wealthy, who've attained money, to say money isn't everything. I get it. But what happens is I give a lot.
Yeah.
So that's like I give a lot. Like I went to New Orleans, where I'm from, $30,000 for toys, $20,000 in giving single mothers money to pay for their bills. So I give a lot. And so for me, that's purpose work. So that's what helps me balance. When I'm able to give, it takes the edge off that I'm gaining. You know what I'm saying? So being able to give helped me.
That's a
Great
contribution
point.
piece.
You two, like you write about giving back in your book as well, whether it's churches or organizations, the whole nine. Now, let's talk about the Dow and the SB 500, right? So when you invest in those funds, right, is there such thing as a social responsibility investment? Because some of the companies that are in there are companies who might make guns. Companies that are destroying the environment. Oil companies, that just companies that kind of do things that aren't you might not think are ethically aligned with your values.
Invest in prisons.
Is there such thing, right? Invest in prisons. So if there's an ethical sense to how you invest, do you consider that?
Hell yeah. So for me, I call it moral investing.
Investing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, I only invest in companies that at least align with what I'm talking about or don't destroy. So for me, and I don't care, I will never invest in Johnson & Johnson.
Okay, why not?
Because they're on record for giving people cancer.
Okay.
It's on record. They just
through their products.
Yeah, through the talcum powder, right? So even though they just split the company up 3 ways, that's so they can try to disattach. But I'll never tell, like even on my show, I'm like, I'm never gonna invest in that. Also, private prisons. I did 10 years in prison.
Yeah.
I'll never invest in the prison system. Never invest in a company. And I'm gonna be real. Me personally, I won't invest in Walmart because I remember there was a time where Walmart played a pivotal role in putting guns in our community. You know what I'm saying? So it's companies like that I'm gonna just stay away from. Now I can't tell you what to do, but for me, if those companies don't align, or I can verbally or visually see what's going on, like I'm good on that because I can't make money off of the destruction. So, yeah.
What about you, Cedric?
Yeah, me, I do have a moral compass about where I invest and what I invest in, but for the most part, my objective of investing is to make money. And if I want to do good, I write a check. So my whole point is that I do write checks to charities and organizations that are making specific change or differences in the community. But in terms of investing, I mean, unlike Trapper, I do like Johnson & Johnson. They're great dividends, great company. But I do, all these companies have a path.
Yep.
Every last one of them. I mean, New York Life is a sponsor of my event.
Yeah.
They start out making money on writing insurance policies on slaves. Right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to bring that to their attention. But our main objective of investing is to make a return and to build our wealth. And we can do good and do well at the same time.
Okay, traders
like that.
Or investors, what's the difference? Trading versus investing?
So for trading, you are physically playing the short-term emotional trends of a company. And so trading is more so looking at the emotion of the market because emotions make the market go up and down, not so much data, but emotion. So trading, you're capitalizing off, I would like to say, a mood swing of the market. investing, which is what I love, is me saying I want to buy a great company and I want to hold this company for a certain period of time. So I have a long term, maybe 10 years or more. I have a short term, 3 to 5, and then I mean a mid term. Then I have a short term. So what I just showed you just now was a combination of a short and a trade at the same time. So I think you should be diversified in setting goals for yourself, and then you can dominate the market based on what do you see is going on.
Okay.
So trading and investing is a skill that everyone should learn, not just one.
Okay.
Man, if I was a blind man, I would think that me and the Trapper were twins.
Facts, I love it.
Because I'm serious, because our thinking is so much aligned in that. I'm a long-term investor. I mean, I've been investing since 1993. Hold some of the same companies.
Damn.
I just keep pouring money. I invest every month. I just keep putting money into the market, but I also invest a lot in real estate and some construction stuff, and I have my IT company. But my IT company, I didn't know if it was going to last 24 years. So I was putting money in real estate in Jersey City before Jersey City got hot, back in the day. So I just love investing. I just want my community to be fired up about it, because that's what's going to make them rich.
What do you guys think about? There's a lot of people who do what you do online, on social media. I'll call them makeshift advisors, and I call you talk about real estate, but I see people on social media that says real estate isn't where to go. How do people differentiate what's real from what's not? Like, what advice would you give them?
So for me, I always say, who can give you the most information without charging you?
Okay.
Whoever can give you the most information. So for me, again, every Tuesday, Trapping Tuesdays on YouTube.
There you go.
I literally show people 2 portfolios. Yo, the first portfolio, this is buy and hold. And let me just say this. Last year, the market was down 17%, 13% on the S&P, 33% on the NASDAQ. Last year, we beat the market by 17%. And I show people every day, yo, this is what I'm doing. And then I showed them the trading account. I said, yo, here's some of the L's I take. Here's some of the wins I took. We ended the year trading $150,000 to the good. We ended the year on a long-term portfolio up 17%. 90% of Wall Street failed the market last year. This year we up 13%. The market is only up 8%. So who can give you information fluidly and on the regular without charging you for it?
Okay.
I swear we're in deep agreement. My whole point is, like, did the person already make money and they want to share with people? Or are they making their money by sharing with people? And so I do what I do for free too, because I want our community to have authentic information and not be concerned about conflicts.
Okay, Danielle is on the line. Danielle, you ready?
When you bring more kids, you're taking away from the other kids.
Danielle's still not ready, man.
Danny.
I'm trying, man. Okay, let me go. Maisha in Pennsylvania, real quick. I'm going to let you be the last caller. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm a first-year business owner for mobile phlebotomy. I'm trying to learn how to become untoxic with my business and personal life. So how can I become untoxic in this career?
Whew. How do I become untoxic? Yo, that is so good. I think first we identify the toxic habits. That's the first thing. And then work hard on doing the opposite, right? So for me, one of the toxic things I had was I was an impulsive spender. So let me tell you what I started doing. So I said, okay, Trap, like, we are impulsive spending because I come from the drug culture. So because I understood that the most value of my money, I didn't value putting it in the bank. I didn't value doing it. I was like, yo, I got to spend it. So what I started doing was, before I impulsive spend, I would impulsive invest. So I would still spend the money.
I like that.
But I would scratch the itch by putting the money in my brokerage account.
Yeah.
So I've scratched the itch. I've released the dope for me, and I'm going about my business. So again, I love Louis Vuitton. I love LVMH. I love Fendi. As a dope boy growing up, I was like, all right. So instead of me keep going to Saks buying that, let me go via LVMUY, and I've been buying that since 2017.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So now every time I see my homies wearing Fendi, I'm like, yep, you made me some money. Every time I see my homies drinking the Hennessy, yep, you made me some money. I see everybody wearing the Givenchy, yep, you made me some money. Louis Vuitton, yep, you like the big logos, yep, you made me some money. So I just reversed it to myself, and I reverse engineered how I saw my money. So that was how I changed my toxic relationship. Now Louis Vuitton Vuitton is the first company in Europe to be 500 billion. Bernard Arnault, the guy who owns Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, and Tiffany, he's the richest man in the world. Yeah. So guess what that mean to me? My stock booming.
Yeah.
My stock booming.
Man, you hear that, Maisha? Go ahead. You want to add to that, Cedric?
In my book, I have this thing I call your Millionaire Money Moves Master Plan. And in that master plan, you plan everything from your earning, your saving, what you pay, what you invest, and also what you reward and what you give. And so in my process is that you don't reward yourself until you achieve certain goals. So me and Trapper are wearing the same Rolex watch, although his has more diamonds on it.
Man, factory though. Factory though.
Yeah.
It's factory.
But the funny
factory.
But the funny part is that I got mine after my company hit 20 million in revenue. So I set these goals, and the whole point is, as an entrepreneur, you have to set goals. When you hit those goals, then you reward yourself, and you go back to working again.
Don't let that go over your head. Don't let that go over your head.
Don't
let that 20 million in revenue.
Come on, man. You better take a breath. Because my uncle was his mentor.
Exactly.
Right? Frank
my
Tucker.
God.
I got a shout out Frank. He didn't even know this coming to this show.
I didn't know it.
Yeah,
wow.
so I know other money. I know how much other money he cleared.
Wow.
20 million ain't the number. That's the throw you
that
off.
was a few years back.
Let me say this. Wallstreet Trapper showed me, how much money he had made so far today since the day started. At one point, can I say the money the daily gain?
Go ahead, man.
The daily gain when he first came on was at about $3,100, right?
Yep.
And now it's at $3,800.
There you go.
And he just showed me this 20 minutes ago.
That's a fact.
So he just made about $700 in 20 minutes or more. How much more? Yeah, more, and it's steadily growing.
Yeah.
So, if you're with the right people, Maisha, you're getting the right information. There's no reason why this couldn't be you.
Yep.
And so I want to thank Maisha. You're a citizen, by the way. Hit her up, Tracy.
Sway in a moment.
Okay. All right. Robert in Detroit, Demetrius in Michigan, Georgia, New York, Cassandra in Boston. All the left callers, please hit these guys up directly. Buy Cedric Nash's book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Wealth? How You Can Become a Millionaire Starting from the Bottom.
That's crazy.
Go online and get that book now, or you can follow him at
CedricNash.com or at Millionaire Money Moves.
Okay, and then the Wallstreet Trapper, man. Brother, I'm glad we finally got to do this, man.
It's an honor for me.
The honor is mine. I see all the work you do on all the different platforms, man. I just commend you. This is, to me, what this mic is meant for. This is what these cameras have always. This has always been aligned to what I personally, my purpose has been in entertainment, has been for these moments. And now we got all these outlets, and we could just share, and hopefully that can help eradicate this wealth gap that we have in this country when it comes to the biggest consumers and the biggest spenders demographic in this country, which is us.
Huge.
Okay, I did well during the pandemic. Me and my partner King Tech, we felt guilty how well we did for a moment.
Right.
And so
LVMH did well during the pandemic.
Crazy.
Yeah, right. So we go all adapt this mindset. It's what these gentlemen have been pushing. If you want to reach the Wallstreet Trapper, you can do it directly at
Instagram, Wall_Street_Trapper. YouTube, Wall Street Looks Like Us and our network. Every Tuesday we do a free 2-hour show live. It's not pre-recorded, it's live, and we on all podcast platforms. And Sway, you and the team, man, I just want y'all to know that y'all have been a staple to the community and just pushing game. And so it's an honor for me. I know it's an honor for this king.
Definitely.
And I want to say that more platforms that have our ear need to be doing this. You need to be reaching out to people like, yo, we've been entertaining our people long enough. We are in a recession, and we will be here for a while. The dollar is losing value. People who will be impacted the most is the people at the bottom. I promise you, the people talking about cutting off Social Security, and they have to be not cutting it off, but cutting it down because we're in a $31 trillion deficit. They are struggling to pay $80 billion this year and another $800 billion over the next 10 years. The people at the bottom will be affected the most. And if you don't know how to move your money around, if you don't know how to change your money around, you will be anchored to poverty, and not just you, generationally. So there's platforms that truly need to put people, genuine people, who don't want to harm the people, who want to help the people. You need to it's your duty. Once you get behind this microphone and say, I want to be a voice of this culture, it is your duty to help your people. And I won't say that.
My man, Wallstreet Trapper, we appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
You talk about that dollar. We got to have y'all come back. I'm rolling into Lord Serious time. I did it yesterday, too. I know he's pissed. But you know, there's a lot of movement that's happening around the world and that's affecting and impacting the dollar. And at some point, I'd love to have you back up so we can talk about these things. All right. Thank you for coming up, man.
Appreciate
Cedric
y'all.
Nash, love you, brother. Appreciate you, man. I'll tell Frank, my Uncle Frank, that we did this.
I'm going to call him when I leave.
You better do that, okay? Wallstreet Trapper,
Thank
man.
you, brother.
You're
I appreciate
amazing,
you,
man. Okay. We want to thank y'all for tuning in.